Hello and welcome to a very special, I know they're all special, but this one's an extra special edition of the Scotland Rugby News podcast with me, your host from Happiness is Egg-Shaped, Bruce Aitchison, and him, Mr. Editor Extraordinaire, Gavin Harper. How are you, son?
Very well, Bruce. How are you? How's your weekend?
It's very good, and I've just been to a show at the festival, but we need to get on with it because they're not here to listen to me and you because we've got a special guest. Can you believe somebody wants to come and speak to the pair of us? How good?
How good? I mean, poor guest, but how good for us?
Yeah, brace yourself. So, I'm a big fan of this player, and I reckon we've spoken a bit about the future in the last few pods, and we've been trying to pick teams, and we've been talking about the depth that the Scottish women now have, and I reckon, I'm not sure I can call this a breakthrough year, but I reckon we're going to be talking a lot about this player. It's exciting times for her, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, as you say, a breakthrough, and she's on the cusp of establishing herself in the Scotland team. So, yeah, no better time to speak to the pair of us, I suppose.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this now before she comes on, just to embarrass her. When that Lions team is named, that squad is named, she's on the plane. Right, I'm saying that now. I want that on record now.
There it is. It's on this Scotland Rugby News podcast. So
you heard it here first. Let's bring in the one and the only, your favourite, my favourite, Meryl Smith.
Hi, Meryl. How you doing?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
I'm going to start, Meryl. No pressure, right? There's no pressure. After that build-up, there's no pressure.
Yeah, well, I don't have to follow that.
How's things in camp?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, we're into week 4 now, so well underway, and it's hard work, but it's been good fun.
Yeah, and the squad assemble, social media is not a great window into the world, but it looks like it's a happy camp. You seem to enjoy spending time with each other. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's one of the highlights of coming back into camp is spending all our time together, back with our best mates. So yeah, it's good to be back for sure.
Gav, do you enjoy going to visit Scotland Women? Is it a positive place to be?
It's a very positive place to be, and I was in there today. So yeah, it was good. It was interesting to hear from Fraser Brown for the first time. So yeah, I wonder, Meryl, you won't have had much to do with his forward work, but what's Fraser's influence been like around the place? He's been quite an upbeat, seems quite an upbeat character.
Yeah, for sure. He's been a breath of fresh air, I think, coming in, bringing in lots of new ideas, and he's definitely not taking any stick from us, which is, I think, what we need. Straight in, making sure that we put in the hard work. It's been really good. He's definitely spending more time with the forwards, but a lot of contact work with the backs as well. He's been really good. I think we're lucky to have him in with us.
Gav Harper, you must be the first person ever to call Fraser Brown upbeat.
Yeah, he was in good form today.
Good. He seems like he's relishing the chance, Meryl. Listen, before we came on, I got a message from your dad to say she needs to be a bit more out of her comfort zone.
Oh, brilliant. I'm not sure that's the case. Can't trust the words he says.
I'm trying to work out why he thought it was going to be uncomfortable speaking to me and Gav, but we'll see where we go. Listen, I wanted to ask you, you started playing rugby early, and you started playing not in Scotland, though. Am I right?
Yeah. We used to live as a family out in the Netherlands when I was younger, so I grew up there. Started playing out there. I think it's bigger than you'd expect in Holland. A good few clubs playing it. Like the standard was pretty good, but yeah, started playing out there, which is fun.
Birthplace of women's rugby.
Yeah, exactly.
First international in Utrecht. I find that interesting because at that stage, and you're not old, so we're only talking 15 years ago you started playing rugby, but a lot of people would probably be surprised that girls were playing rugby in Holland at age 6 or 7. Yeah,
I think it's definitely grown a lot since then. At that time, it was mixed with the boys up until I think probably aged 14, 15. So I played all through with the boys, which I think, you just get used to tackling people much bigger than you, which probably pays off in the long run. But yeah, I think lots of girls and boys playing, so it's pretty good.
And then, what were you aware of here? Because I'm guessing, being a player of your age, you're now in a squad with role models, heroes, idols, people that you were looking up to, going, I'd quite like to be like them.
Yeah, it's been very cool. I think when I first came into the squad, I don't know, like 2-3 years ago now, it was pretty surreal, like coming in, seeing the likes of like Helen Nelson, Lisa Thompson, Sarah Law, and like these are the people that you watch on TV and you're like, wow, I want to be like them. And then, to have them helping out in a session, like giving advice is very cool. And just learning from them, I think that as much as, maybe don't tell the coaches this, like you learn as much from the coaches, but you're learning even more probably from your teammates and your peers. So yeah, it was very cool. And I think even now, like I've known them for years, like to think they're my friends now. And it's still pretty surreal, I think.
Gav, those players are not necessarily the trailblazers, but the names Meryl's mentioning there, Helen Nelson, Lisa Thompson, they've taken it to the next level, haven't they? And then you get the young upstarts like Meryl coming along. It's exciting times with the depth in the squad.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think you can see the development in women's rugby in Scotland over the last, even, you look 5 years and then from where it was. So actually, you're right that we're going to call her a young upstart again, but players like Meryl can bring the game on so much more, and there's another generation of players that will come in with her and take the game to another level. And actually, I think you're starting to see that. People like Alex Stewart in the Six Nations are coming into that environment and look so comfortable that, it's only encouraging, I think.
And Meryl, that group now, they're not old, but it feels like they are, because they've actually been in international rugby for 10 years. Emma Wassell, Sarah Bond. You could have listed the team for quite a long time, and there wasn't too many people in and out, and it was quite settled. And then they've had to keep working because there's a lot of players in there. Are you quite enjoying being a bit disruptive?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's exciting. I think for definitely like the squad depth has improved massively in the last 5 years or so. And it just gives training that extra edge. I think, you're always competing for a place. And not that wasn't the case before, but I think definitely now it's hard work. You need to make sure that you're, being the best player that you can be. And then as a result, that pushes the team, which is pretty exciting. And I think, we see that in our results recently, like we're getting so much better as a squad. And I think that's credit to the young players coming through and just pushing everyone. I don't think Waz and Nels will appreciate if you're calling them old just yet, but
right, here we go. Now I'm going to start making you feel uncomfortable, just to please your old man. One of the things I love about the way you play, you're able to play different positions, which I think is a great thing, because that gives you that insight into, if you're running at 12, the sort of thing you need from your 15 or what you would like 15 to do. You've now played a few positions. If you were having that conversation, what jersey would be your choice? Where do you want to play? Don't give me any media nonsense. I need an answer here.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I only started playing 15 this season, really, and it's definitely given me an appreciation for the work that our back three do. I think I'd give them a lot of stick before, and I don't quite give them enough credit. It's hard work out there. But yeah, it's tough. I've been trying to work that out myself, where I see myself best fitting. I think it's with the way we play as well. It's quite nice having that flexibility that, you can put people in different positions depending on the opposition that we're playing, which is quite exciting. But yeah, I think for me, I'm probably, ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to be the Scotland 10, I think.
Nice, there you go. You took a long time to get there, but fair play, you got there. I'm proud of you.
But I'm enjoying playing lots of different positions. I'm really enjoying.
Start backpedaling now, Meryl Smith. You gave us the answer, and we liked it. Gav, Meryl is now able to benefit from going south to play. we've got a lot of Scots playing in that league down south, which is a great thing. It's a bit sad because we don't get to. They're not under our nose as often.
Yeah.
But it can only be a good thing that Meryl's down there learning from my daughter Holly Aitchison, and working with some of those players and learning from them, and then they bring that learning back to Scotland.
No, totally. Like playing against and with some of the best players in Europe and the world can only be a good.
Oh, he's disappeared, Meryl. The dial-up internet out in East Lothian is struggling. Talk me through what it's like being in that environment at Bristol Bears. We saw lots of people have seen the TV show with Abbie Ward and what that's like, and the facilities down there, and what's it like being in that environment?
Yeah, it's been incredible. It's quite the step up, I think, from university rugby, for sure, for me last year. And like the setup that Dave Ward and Tom Luke have put in has been amazing. Like the facilities we share with the men are just incredible. And the setup, the coaching, the players are all just so invested in the team. I think it's really amazing to learn from everyone. And like there's 5 or 6 Red Roses players that are learning from the likes of Holly and Amber Reid. It's amazing just getting their insight into things. And then there's also quite a few Welsh players and the non-internationals that are coming into training after a full day's work and still putting in all the effort they can. Is it makes us work even harder, for sure. Like it's been amazing. I've really enjoyed it the last year, and I'm excited for another one.
How do you find it? I'm always intrigued by club players then playing against their club mates at international level. How do you find that? Because when you watch a women's game, there's smiles for the anthems. There seems like there's still enjoyment, even during the game. There seems to be little exchanges that are friendly. It doesn't mean that there's any quarter given or asked for. It's still hell for leather when it's game on. But how do you find playing against people that 2 weeks ago you were sharing the changing rooms with and training with and playing with, and now all of a sudden you're up against them? How do you find that?
Yeah, it's a bit weird. I think it's definitely when you're on the pitch, it's game faces on, you're doing what you can to win, and then after the pitch it's quite nice to then be able to sit with them, have a chat after the game. I think if anything, we played Saracens just before Christmas, and there's a few Scottish girls down at Saracens, and of all people, Corinne Grant, who you think angel sweetheart, she's the one untying my laces and rucks, having a bit of wind up. So yeah, it's
I love that. I'm so glad to hear that. Well played, Corinne Grant. That is class.
Yeah. I hope there's more of that, Meryl, in all the games you play against the Scotland, your Scotland teammates.
Yeah, there's definitely a few wind-ups in the team that try and get you going, but it's nice. It's nice to see familiar faces each week as well.
And then, what sort of input then are you able to give when you come to a Scotland session? Are you asked for input on what things are like? Is there a bit of you lot drink a lot of coffee? I mean, Instagram is rammed with the Scotland women over coffee. Is there a bit of chat about, we're doing this at Bristol, what are you doing at Loughborough, what's happening at Saracens? Do you discuss those things?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of trying to sort of amalgamate all the things that are working at the different clubs and see how we can make that work here. It's sometimes a case of not trying to give too much away, especially Six Nations times when we were training up in Scotland during the week and then playing each other for club at the weekend. Try not to tell them all our special moves. But yeah, I think especially with Bristol, it's very attack focused. We want to run with the ball as much as we can, do exciting things, play exciting rugby. And in Scotland, I'm part of the attack group. So it's a case of taking some ideas from Bristol, what works well, and how we can then use that here. I think sometimes attack coach Matt Banahan, he's trying to rein us back when we've come up with crazy moves or things that we want to try. But no, it's good to be able to bring in new ideas and try things at least.
Gav, she's beginning to talk like one of the leaders of the team. as one of the young pups. But that's promising, isn't it? And as we look towards these 2 games at the Hive coming up, and then WXV, it bodes well.
Oh no, totally. Like, look, it's I'm more interested in what these crazy moves that Matt Banahan's vetoed were. Look, it's an exciting time. I think obviously WXV's a big deal, a great opportunity to build for Six Nations and World Cup. Meryl, there seems to be, from speaking to some of your teammates, there seems to be a real focus on development at this stage of the season, where at this time last year the focus was firmly on winning WXV. Have you noticed that change? Have you talked about what it would mean to retain the trophy, or has it all been about building towards the World Cup?
Yeah, I think for us, we're sort of looking bigger picture at the moment. World Cup is the ultimate goal. Like, we had a bit of a disappointing results for us in New Zealand at the last one, and we want to amend some mistakes there. And I think, we're building such a talented squad with real depth, and we think that we can really target the World Cup. So, like, the next few games, the warm-up games into WXV, it's a case of trying to gel as a squad, building. We've gotten so much better, like from where we were a year ago. I think we've really improved, and we can just keep pushing that. And yeah, it's a case of building into WXV, into Six Nations, and then trying to hit the World Cup running on a good roll of results.
And actually, these games will be pretty good for you, because Wales is all, the games with Wales recently have been pretty close. And then I imagine Fiji will bring a very Fijian style of let's have a go from everywhere. So those contrasting styles will be pretty useful for you.
Yeah, I think Wales is always a bit of a grudge match. I think we've, come out of the wrong side of some of the results in the last few years, and to beat them away in Cardiff, they'll definitely come after us in the next couple of weeks. So that'll be a good game. And then Fiji, the first time we've ever played Fiji at 15s, very exciting. I've played them a couple of times at 7s, and it's just, it's carnage. I don't know how they do half the things they do, but it's very exciting. I think and it'll challenge us. It's going to put us under pressure and in positions we've never been in before, trying to stop offload after offload. And it'll put us in a good place for WXV, which is exciting.
And the World Cup's obviously on the horizon. Is it being talked about just now, or is it very much the job at hand, or is what's coming in this calendar year?
Yeah, I think we all are aware that that's the end goal. Like, we're building towards that. That's where all the hard work now is going to pay off. But I think it is a case, it's pre-season at least. It's day by day getting through the week. But we'll take each game as we come, build the next few weeks. WXV is the next focus, and then we'll take it tournament by tournament into World Cup.
Geez, you've been well trained. taking each day as it comes, game by game. Yeah. Gee whiz, but right, Meryl, the Hive has become a really enjoyable place, and Lisa and Rona and Was can tell stories about playing in front of their families, and that was it. And now you're getting people, desperate, keen. Friday night against Wales, Saturday night against Fiji. What an opportunity to play at home, hopefully in decent weather. Crowd is there. What's it like playing at home?
It's very cool. It's the Hive is such a good atmosphere. Like, the crowd is so loud that you can hear everything. You can hear people shouting your name and screaming for the team, which it's very cool. Hopefully, Friday night game would be pretty good under the lights. Hopefully the weather's not quite as miserable as it was during the Six Nations, and we get some sunshine. But it's such a good atmosphere, and hopefully we can get a good turnout and play some exciting rugby for everyone to watch.
And you guys take it.
I don't know about your optimism for sunshine. I've just looked at the window here. It's as grey as any. 19th of August, and the rain is coming down sideways, and you're talking about sunshine.
Grandad, turn it down, right? Come on, right? Enough of your misery. Meryl, you guys take it really seriously about being role models, and you've probably been one of the people hanging around waiting for the players to finish and walk off. How does that feel? I mean, you're a very humble, modest human, but it must feel quite cool to have boys, girls 45-year-old men wearing Happiness Egg Shape hoodies hanging about to see you once you walk down there. How does that feel?
It's incredible. I think it's something that maybe we don't quite realize, when you're training in the rain and, you're putting all these long hours in and it's hard work, and it's to then go out and play in front of everyone. You realize, everyone, you get so many people that really do care about the team and about the results, and they want us to do well. And it definitely spurs us on. And then we're very lucky at the Hive to have that tunnel after the game to meet all the fans and get lots of pictures and autographs. And as knackered as you are after playing 80 minutes or whatever it is, you get so much energy just seeing everyone again. And I think we're very lucky that we've got pretty amazing fans that hang about for a very long time after the game to see us. It's something we don't take for granted.
Yeah, it's awesome. Please keep it going. It's incredible. Gav, I've got some quick fire ones, but I'm going to let you have a go. We're almost there. We've got Wales and Fiji, WXV on the horizon. We've got Meryl with us. Come on, Mr. Journalist, hit us with it.
Well, my question before we let you go, is Bruce, in Bruce's big build-up, he picked you in his dream Lions squad. Is that something that you guys have talked about, are talking about, are looking at, have dreams of being there? And what would that mean?
Yeah, I think the Lions it would be an amazing opportunity. I think, growing up watching the men's team is very cool. Watching the Scottish players represent us all. I would love to go. It would be pretty amazing. But it's like, you can't do anything other than just keep training and playing well, and then hopefully if you do well enough, you'll get picked. And it's still a couple of years away. There's a lot can happen before then. New players will come in, players get better, players could get injured. Anything's possible. But it would be a dream to go.
Think how good you'll be in 2 years, Meryl.
What are your kind of memories of watching the men's team? And because I guess there wouldn't have been that many Scots coming through playing for the Lions when you were kind of growing up. So I guess I wonder who you kind of looked at and thought, I fancy a bit of, I want to do what they're doing.
I think what would have been 2013 maybe.
Yeah.
Around probably Stuart Hogg just coming in, and the likes of you're testing me now. Greg Laidlaw, very cool.
Are you being fed answers from the side here?
It just came to me. Greg Laidlaw, big fan. Just seeing all the such talented.
They don't have to be Scottish, if somebody like a Brian O'Driscoll, somebody that you would have watched and thought, actually, to be able to, or did it feel like a women's Lions team was so far away at that point that might never come?
Yeah, I think it was a sort of, a hopefulness that, one day it would be a thing, but maybe I wasn't quite expecting it in my career. So I think it's a case of, we're so lucky that it is happening. I don't want to miss that opportunity. I want to make sure that I can be in the best position that I am in was it 2 years time, 3 years time to get on that flight. And the first ever women's Lions tour, that would be quite an experience.
Yeah, and you've got a World Cup kind of at home before that, so there's so much to look forward to. Listen, Meryl, we've not got you for long, so I'm going to hit you with some quick fire here. There's not allowed to be any ums or ahs. I just need a straight answer. Who's your funniest teammate?
Rach McLachlan.
Interesting. Best TikTok. This one is going to cause a whirlwind of issues. Who's got the best TikTok?
It's got to be Rona, surely.
Okay, so she still holds the crown. And who's going to be the Scottish star of WXV?
EVG, 100%, superstar.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to accept all of your answers, so well done. Meryl, listen, it's been absolutely class. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you kind of the last word. you've got 2 games coming up at home. So go for it. Get people through the door, get people buying tickets, sell it to us.
Wow, no pressure. Yeah, I think, like I said, just the atmosphere at the Hive is incredible. When we can get big turnouts, it's so special for us. It makes it like incredible. It's a dream for us to play in front of all our fans, and it would be so good to have as many of you guys there to support us. They're going to be tough games. Wales always a grudge match. We need you guys cheering us on and giving the Welsh some sticks that we can show them that we can, show them what. Please come watch us do our thing, and hopefully we'll put on some good rugby for you guys.
Awesome. Absolutely love it. Meryl, it's been an absolute pleasure to have a chat to you. All the very best. We'll be at the Hive. We'll be cheering you on. You might hear it. Well, you'll hear me. He's too busy writing and typing, but I might get to cheer you on. And I'm really looking forward to all the best. Say hello to the squad, get back to whatever it is you've got planned now. And we're looking forward to these performances.
Great. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Meryl.
Thanks,
Bye.
Meryl. Absolutely class, big chap. There's a lot of experience there, isn't there? Although she's young, but played sevens, playing down south, playing in a good side. She mentioned some of the players that she's playing with there. It can only be a good thing for Scotland.
Totally. And I think the more players that are exposed to that level of rugby in the PWR, like the better the individuals are going to become, and then the better that will make the team. I think you see with the men's team, there was a spell maybe 10, 15 years ago, probably longer, where most of the names on the team sheet played down south or in France. And that kind of had to happen, A, to allow them to develop, and B, to allow players to develop in the 2 pro teams. And I think we've now got a better balance in the men's game. I think the women's game's catching up. I think it's a shame that we don't have likes of Meryl playing in Scotland. But I think for their development and for the team's development, they are where they need to be.
Yeah, it's a challenge, isn't it? Because we would love to have them under our noses up here, but that's not going to be the best for their development. So they've got to go south to play at that level, train at that level, be exposed to teammates and opposition. And it gives a great chance for Edinburgh and Glasgow to develop players, but then there's not the attraction for the crowd because they don't necessarily know a lot of the players that they're watching. So we're definitely in a transition development phase. I'm not sure, but it's an interesting one to get the balance right.
I think you see when the Celtic Challenge, Emma Orr and Lisa Thompson and Rona Lloyd, Jenny Maxwell all played in that, and that will have drawn a few more punters through the door. So, and they will help improve their Edinburgh and Glasgow teammates, and as a result, those players will go back to Scottish clubs with a load more experience than they probably had when they started these things. So, look, it's all swings and roundabouts, but I think for the minute, it's it has to be the way that it is, that the majority of the squad play the rugby outside of Scotland. But
you mentioned her when you were chatting to Meryl. Alex Stewart potentially wouldn't have had that acceleration that she had without the Celtic, without being exposed to that level. And she went on to play, and she was immense.
Yeah, I mean, she was. I don't want to say she was Scotland's best player of the Six Nations, but she was definitely the absolute find of the Six Nations. And I think the test is always when you throw a player into a level or 2 up, like, are they going to sink or swim? And she was swimming quite confidently. She was, and actually she took to it like a duck to water. She looked like she could have been there. She should have been there 2 or 3 seasons earlier. And I remember after the Six Nations had finished, speaking to Rachel Malcolm, and she was saying that after one of the games, Alex was sitting in the changing room saying, I wish we had done X, Y, and Z differently. And, if only we had capitalised on A, B, and C. Now, it takes a bit about you. You have to have a bit about you to realise that in the first place. But to then think it, like, 19, do you know what, I'm actually just going to tell our captain this. Says a lot about the player, but I think it also says a lot about the environment. That
and Rachel Malcolm, who's an incredible leader.
Yeah, like you said there, like it always seems to be a reasonably positive, happy place. Obviously, there were times during that 12-game winless streak, I imagine that was different. But look, I think they've definitely harnessed like a really good environment, a good atmosphere and stuff. So yeah, and part of that is down to the folk involved.
And Sarah Denham, I'm really chuffed for her to go down Ealing Trailfinders, another one that was playing uni, playing Edinburgh, and and I'm not 100% sure how these things work. Are the English clubs asking, or like how does it work? But for her to get a chance at Ealing in what Giselle Mather's there as director of rugby, class act, knows her stuff. Lisa Thompson's going to be there this year, so having Sarah there, I'm hoping is a really positive thing for Scotland. I hope she gets a fair bit of game time there.
And I think this is like, when you look at, if you're a player like Sarah, who's maybe on the outside of the Scotland squad at the minute, if you were choosing a club to go to, you would want, first and foremost, you would want a project that you could see yourself fitting in, playing games, but also you would want to play somewhere, where you can establish a combination. We didn't get a chance to speak to Meryl about it, but she next season is going to have the chance to play potentially at 12 with Emma Orr at 13 for Bristol. That will put pressure on.
With an Aitchison at 10.
With an Aitchison, I mean, what more could you want?
I mean, the Aitchison in 10, it just trips off the tongue. It's like Jordan in 23, like just. No, I think that's actually an interesting point. I hadn't thought of that. Having Sarah Denham playing with Tomo at Ealing, and I don't know if there's planning to these things, but or an influence from Scotland. But to think that Sarah Denham can play with Lisa Thompson at Ealing,
and Chloe,
of Meryl playing with Emma, those, okay, you're on one there.
And then
do this for a job.
Then your other thought is, well, actually, Brian Easton, Tyrone Holmes, and the Scotland coaches are going to watch Lisa and Chloe anyway. So if you get a run of games together, you're not forcing them to go out their way to watch games they might not watch. So does that help your chances? I don't know. And like you say, I don't know how much of that logic goes into this. Is it just actually the opportunity suits somebody like Sarah Denham, so she's gone for it? But
it's crazy when you think you could go and watch Bristol against Loughborough, and there's potentially a dozen Scots playing.
Yeah, I think more and more, like we talked before we came on, you could go and watch Saracens now play Harlequins, and you would be watching half a dozen, if not more, Scotland internationals. There are a lot of teams now that have picked up players that are in that wider Scotland squad, and I think it makes the PWR, from a Scottish point of view, it makes it an interesting competition, because without those players involved, would we necessarily, watch every game or keep track of the results or the league table or whatever? So I think it's a good thing for us. It's a good thing for the game, and it's as we've talked about, it's definitely a good thing for the players. Yeah,
it's an interesting one for me as well, because you've got those Scottish players, and at Bristol, there's England internationals, Welsh internationals playing in that Bristol team. There's also some overseas players, Canada and America have got quite a few players in the PWR. But for those Scotland players to be that demand of the Red Roses, because let's face it, they are like at the moment, it appears their league's ahead of almost everybody. So to be side by side, that's the standard of Amber Reid, Holly Aitchison, Jazz Joyce. That can only be good. And the way Meryl speaks, she's obviously still learning. She wants to learn and develop and progress. And when you've got an attitude like that and you're in the right environment, it can only be good for Scotland.
I think the other interesting part about it is that it gets rid of these auras. I think of somebody like an Emily Scarrett, and you look now at the benefit of Rachel Malcolm, Helen Nelson, and all the Loughborough girls playing alongside somebody like her who's held in such almost like an iconic esteem that you almost make her more normal by you're around her every day, and you pick up, like we talked on to Meryl about, like I was asking about Brian O'Driscoll, but players that have been on Lions tours with him and played with Ireland say the things they picked up with him weren't necessarily the things that he could do on the rugby pitch that they couldn't, but the things that were, basics to him, applying yourself, turning up on time, the way he acted, those rub off on folk. And, if you can tap into a little bit of that while also making your international rivals seem less untouchable, then it's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, it's a fair point. And by the way, just on Emily Scarrett, I would take Emma Orr every day of the week, 3 times on a Saturday and twice on a Sunday over Emily Scarrett. Emma Orr, Meryl Smith, the future.
Yeah, and that's it. I think if it would be ridiculous to compare Emily Scarrett at her best to Emma Orr, but now, to me, same as you, there's no question.
I would take it. Emma Orr's better than Emily Scarrett.
I mean, that's high praise from anybody, but
listen, it's one of those ones. If Emma Orr was English, I think that, and it's like you're saying, if we can normalise them by standing shoulder to shoulder with them. If Emma Orr had been in that World Cup in a red roses shirt,
and this is it. I totally get that, and I think if Emma Orr was, she rings round people playing for Scotland. If she was doing that 3 times as much in one game in a red roses jersey, folk would have taken notice of her long ago. I think he's one. Evie Gallagher's another. Meryl, Fran McGee. You look at those. If you take those 4. They could go on and do whatever they want, as long as they can.
Well, even Corinne Grant, had people sitting up taking notes against Wales, and everybody's going, hang on, what about Rona? We've got Fran McGee and Corinne Grant and Rona Lloyd, and then fullback we've got Chloe Rowley, but actually Meryl Smith can play at 15 as well, and then you've got Helen Nelson and Lisa Thompson, and you've got Emma Orr, and at scrum half now Jenny Maxwell's back, and all of a sudden folk are getting excited, and I think it's so exciting now that there's so many players to talk about, because for a long time you could pick the first 15 and most of them had to play 80 minutes.
Yeah, and all those names you've reeled off, you've still got people like Shona Campbell, who was away with GB, and I think that's the thing now. Like I was talking to somebody earlier today. If you look at the 9s that are available, Leah Bremner Holden played the Celtic Challenge and was away with the under-20s. Jenny Maxwell's just back. Katie Mattinson and Mary McDonald have been about. Now, there's 4 scrum halves. You're not probably going to take 4 scrum halves to a tournament. So all of a sudden you're saying, well, one of them doesn't go. In years gone by, to your point, not only would you probably have had one player, the drop-off on the bench was such that somebody was being asked to play, 70, 80 minutes unless the game was well out of sight. And normally that game was out of sight in a negative.
Yeah.
We spoke to Sarah Bonner earlier, and actually when you look at her and Emma Wassell have been the second rows for a long, basically since Sarah came into the team. And now you look at it, and I've said this to you before, they're not guaranteed their places. If you look at, Fiona McIntosh is there,
even
Louise McMillan's been playing really well, even Donaldson, and then you say, well, how does that affect, which pairing there you go with might affect A, your back row, and B, your bench. And those kind of depth of options have never been available as Scotland women's head coach. So, yeah, Brian Easton's...
now it gets harder because Jade's back. And Jade's one of those players now that you'd have to call her Jade Concourt because you just say Jade and folk know who she is. She's got that, and I hope she gets a sort of clear run because she deserves it. Geez, does she deserve it?
And actually, both her and Sarah Bonner, both the Harlequins girls probably deserve a decent run. Sarah Bonner scored a ridiculous try against Japan last year, but she's either side of that, she's hardly played. Yeah. And she can be such an asset to the Scotland team that she's class. You just hope you hope that they can all get a decent run. And but I think there's a challenge in all this for Brian Easton to, talk about, I know it's a different sport, but talk about the Chelsea football team and how Enzo Maresca goes about keeping happy a squad of 400,000 players. But, how does Brian Easton go about making sure that
it's kind of easy to keep 15 happy when there's only 15 to choose from, but now there's 30 to choose from it and only 23 of them can get a shirt. How do you do that? No, I get your point, mate. And Shona Campbell, a phenomenal role model, GB, wants it, gets an injury, is working her way back and just adds to that competition. Wales and Japan, you'll obviously be there covering them. Be good to get
Fiji and not Japan.
What did I say?
You said Japan.
Oh, did I? Well, of course I meant Wales. Everybody knows that. That's my code word for Wales now, just in case folk didn't get that. Yeah, Wales and Fiji. That's and Friday night, Saturday late afternoon. Great opportunity to put it out there and get people excited again. I think we're on a wave of positivity, and that's a great chance to sort of cash in, especially now. The new kit's out. For what I can gather, I think it's sold very well. So there's another chance for people to be saying, "Listen, I've bought a Scotland shirt, but it's actually a Scotland women's shirt." Class.
And actually, I think the women's shirt has been better received than the men's. So, you just hope that. The first thing you hope, I keep looking at this window. The first thing I hope is this rain stops and we can get a couple of decent nights early September. Weather, get good crowds in at the Hive. I think that Meryl said it, that makes all the difference.
Yeah,
I think there'll be two really interesting games. I think Fiji is as much as we know what Fiji will bring, it's a bit of an unknown in terms of what the kind of base level will be like, and the flip side of that is what Brian Easton will do with his squad selection. I think that is probably a game where I think
one for me is what team do we pick? Do we pick our strongest against Wales in that we probably have to win? Whereas against Fiji, it's an opportunity to go, right, we need to go to WXV with 25, 26 players that we can say if they need to, they can start.
And I think the other thing is, like, we've talked about the positive, but let's be under no illusions. That Wales game will be tight one way or another. You can't go to WXV looking to retain a trophy on the back of the Ireland result in the Six Nations and then 2 losses here. So, I think it's imperative that they come out hopefully with 2 wins, but definitely with that one before they go to South Africa.
Mate, I like having a guest on.
I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed that. I think we need that to keep us on our toes. She was class. I've got so much time for Meryl. Listen, pal, absolutely loved it. Everybody's going to sign up now, £1 for 6 months or £12 for the year, so that they can get all that in-depth analysis. We also need them to be reading about these players so that they can start to learn the stories and engage with them. It's been great to see you. Maybe another guest next week. Just keep this kettle boiling.
Who knows?
Great to see you, big man.
Definitely. You too. Thanks very much again, Bruce.
Cheers, pal. Loved it. My name's Bruce Aitchison from Happiness Egg Shaped, and he's the boss man, Gav Harper, for Scotland Rugby News. We'll see you all next week. Stay tuned.